I thought I had a plan, and it took me about a week to realize that that plan wouldn't work out. I thought that maybe, you know, the kids could work on their school assignments and I could do a little bit of work, and my husband would chime in and help for at least 1 or 2 hours a day. All of this didn't play out, unfortunately. So I started to become so exhausted and also very frustrated at the end of the first week. So I changed our schedule in a way where I really need to be present between 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. for the kids. My kindergartner needs me. I mean, it's just kindergarten. I keep telling me that. So I work with her in front of a computer and papers about 2 to 3 hours a day. With my middle schooler, I sit in the morning to make sure he kind of knows what's on his schedule, and then at the end of the day to make sure he submitted what he needs to submit. But I really need to be present for them because there's so many things, and when I try to work during that time, I could not finish one email, and that made me so frustrated. So switching my work day into the afternoon really helped me. By 2 p.m., they're allowed to do whatever they want within the restrictions that we experience. And that's when I get quiet time, I'm not interrupted, and I get my work done. It's against my nature. I love working and being productive in the morning. But I think flexibility, adaptability are very important traits right now.
I really think there's something very real about this time, and each age child is dealing with different, I mean, we of course are dealing with different things, but each age child is dealing with a different set of issues. I think when you're 17, you're supposed to be out testing the waters, kind of getting your feet wet away from your parents. And here she is, you know, under our roof all the time. So it's been really challenging.
Most of my children, who Noah is 11 and Sarai 9, my days were, I would drop them off, and then they would go to school, and we would have after school programs, and then they would come home, we'd have dinner, we'd have like a 10-minute conversation and read a book and go to bed and repeat. And that was sort of what I called the observant years. Like, they were in my home, we had our value systems in place, and we were running it like a business. And now, since COVID, it's really interesting. And I think a silver lining, Chance, we've also dealt with the gamut of all emotions, so that's accepted here as well. But one of the silver linings that I was telling Julie is that I actually get to be an observer of my child. Instead of having the end of the year recital for the piano or the guitar performance where, you know, they are on stage, I take a picture and pat them on the back and like check that off our list, that music is now filling into our home, and we're able to hear what they're interested in, from, you know, Sarai doing roly-polies and drawing pictures and making a little like 3D cage for her little animal. You know, we're now like observing like what she's really interested in, and we're living together symbiotically while trying to like be curious and learn and explore and have anxiety and sadness and happiness and all these different things, but all under one roof, all together as a family. So that's been a silver lining, to have space to do all of that.
Yeah, no, I was going to use that word, nimble. I think it's always important, even when times aren't hard, to be nimble and be able to shift really easily. I think that's one of the best signs of a good business person, to be quite honest with you, and to have that creative cap on, to be able to shift and shift quickly, and hopefully have the team members that can do that with you. For me, my lineup to COVID was in January. I presented to Target, and we actually landed the account, which was like amazing. But it's daunting.
Cheers for that one.
But yeah.
But yeah. I'm actually glad you touched on that, because I want, you mentioned that even the way
I bring it up not to put a feather in my cap, but more to be like, it's the greatest win. and the Target stores are still open, but it is daunting for us on a lot of levels that probably wouldn't have been before. So, you know, our cash flow is down. That has to help finance the Target. So there's just a lot of revolving doors around it. So I think my takeaway for this has been, even the best laid scenario for planning on landing Target in January has brought in this whole other set of things and how we're going to cope. So that being nimble and creative and really staying one step away from it to see it all has been really, really important for our business, and keeping some people away to see the whole picture and some people just down in it and churning it out and setting up Target and doing everything. It's definitely not the same climate that it was, and we're not having the same year that we thought we were going to have.
For my business, it was clear right in the beginning that about 40% of my business, the small retail stores that sell my product, fell away. So it was pretty clear that I had to focus on my B2C business, sell directly to customers more. But I was struggling because business ethics are very important to me. I was struggling in how to not come across too salesy, and I always thought, well, you know, who needs dressings right now? Where can I really be of service? So I needed a few weeks to really ground myself and find out where my company actually can be of service.
The most daunting question, because we all assumed that school, what I was reading was that school would open in July maybe, or that we would have summer camps or some sort of relief for working parents. And it's definitely a step backwards for family structure, especially for working women. In my mind, my husband, thank goodness, is very involved and such an awesome co-parent, but it makes it really difficult to manage companies. I do feel really lucky that we're in the position that we can work from home, where there's some of our friends and people in our community that don't have that option. So I do really worry about them. And also our kids are at such a great age, being 11 and 9, that they're able to sort of have this like 1970s throwback, like trampoline, run wild. And, it's going to be messy. That's my word.
Yeah.
And there's one silver lining I see, which I think I was lacking in parenting anyway, where maybe a little bit too controlling, and then we have the schedule on top, and there was not enough space, I think, for the kids to just be bored and then get creative out of that space. So it's a practice for me to control less, let them get creative, let them figure out things, let them be bored and be okay with that. Those are the thoughts that I have on this topic, but I really don't know how it's all going to work out. I'll be happy to share later.
I might not be great at pre-algebra, like I know how to do pre-algebra, but I don't necessarily know how to do the new modern way of like getting to the right answer. But I think as an adult having experience in life, my husband and I have been able to have experience of coping skills. And so what we realized at a very early time is that they're going to be watching us cope through different phases of this experience in a pandemic. So to be able to teach them what it means to cope when things aren't going their way. So we have that open forum, and we're trying to give them skills and give myself skills, and for them to see me crying if something's really hard, or if someone in our family was sick, and like those real things are happening in our home, and they have to learn that in the future this is what they're going to have to learn to be able to have. And that's one skill set that we're trying to teach, and that is a value system of learning that we know that is present here. So we're trying to be mindful. I mean, it's not always perfect, and they're learning, when it comes back to like me messing up and saying something horrible, then we learn how to like make amends at our, you know, all of those things. It's just real life is happening here at the Berman house.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Daniela said, that I have had to really let go of any sort of routine that it was sort of magical thinking, especially with a 17-year-old. So for me, allowing her to really own her classes online, and me to take a step back and not be hovering as much, because I think that's going to be the space where she really is, you know, messing up or having her wins without me being hovering on that. The hardest part for us, I think, has been being able to show that you have trust in your child and their choices, because I think that's really important for them to see. Like, I trust you, you're making this decision, you're going to go do this. And if you screw up, we're still here, because there's not a lot of opportunities for that right now.
Incorporate them into your meal preparation, all of them. Let them get creative, let the kitchen get messy, it's okay, but let them contribute. I experience a lot of connection in the kitchen with the entire family. I experience a lot of learning, I experience a lot of talk and understanding. Although it's always work later than to clean up, there's so much value in making food and sharing food together. So I encourage you all to maybe pick one night and do it.
Curiosity. I think that's been my survival key, is just getting curious. Curious on other avenues in fine jewelry that I can explore. Like, we're doing recycled gold from people's old gold and taking it in and doing more sustainable practice with how to like actually reincorporate old pieces. So like the old soul of the piece with the new spirit. That's been my new curiosity, based on like the masterclass or my experience with getting curious with Sarai's roly-poly experience. So just kind of actually diving deeper on something that I would have quickly glanced over and not made a big deal of. I'm now just like, what is a roly-poly? Like, how do we eggs, you know? And like, how do we?
I do have time to ask this question.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Yeah,
Okay.
dive deeper on curiosity with your kids or your business. And I think that can lead to new experiences.
I would encourage everybody. So I have a mission-based business, and we are something called the B Corp, which is doing business for good. Whether it's looking up a B Corp, but just maybe taking this time, whether you're purchasing something or whether you're giving your feedback or wherever you're searching, maybe to make it a little bit more of a greener effort, or find those mission-based businesses. I think we're all living in a time where a lot of lessons and thoughtfulness is coming in. And for me, that would be a great action item. If your next purchase could be with a company like that, or your next, I don't even know what else, but if it's not a purchase, but there's a lot of ways to get involved. And I would encourage everybody just to have a little bit more thought around that.
Thoughtful purchase. Yeah.
The word that I'm coming back to is compassionate. And sometimes I'm better at it, and sometimes not as much.
Cheers to you. Let's everyone give a little cheers of whatever you got.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.